We got some breaking news out of Texas. Republican lawmakers have just released a new congressional map, and it does not include Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's home within her own district. Let me say that again. They've redrawn the line so that Jasmine Crockett, one of the most outspoken Black women in Congress, is no longer living inside the district she was elected to represent. This is not just political, it's personal and it's targeted.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we are headed on over to Texas. Why is that? Because today is a good day. The Supreme Court ruled in the favor of the new Texas congressional map that has, effectively drawn Jasmine Crockett out of her district and added 5 more Republican seats to the state of Texas. Democrats are highly upset at this right now. And when they are upset, I am happy and full of joy. So with that being said, let's get into this first clip.
Well, let's change gears. A big win for Texas. The Supreme Court allows the Lone Star State to use the Trump-backed congressional map in its midterm elections. Governor Greg Abbott writing this: Texas is officially and legally more red. This is a victory for Texas voters, for common sense, and for the U.S. Constitution. They could get up to 5 seats in theory. Let's bring in Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Greg, did the Supreme Court make the right decision?
Oh, I think they did, Brian, because there was little credible evidence that Texas had actually redrawn their congressional map based on race, which obviously would be a civil rights violation. And the ruling is consistent with what the high court said in 2019. We will not intervene in cases of political partisan gerrymandering, only in cases where, states have conjured up district boundaries for largely racial reasons that are discriminatory. And in fact, there was evidence that the previous map was racially motivated and that the new map corrected that constitutional defect. So, as you point out, Brian, this ruling has the potential to flip 5 Democrat-held seats in Texas to Republican next year, and it may actually clear the path for other states to do the same, blue states and red states, as long as race is not a factor when they do it.
So now what I want to do is I want to get into Jasmine Crockett's response, and then we're going to get into the response of DNC lunatics like Simone Sanders on MSNBC, now known as MS Now, because trust me when I tell you, man, the tears are flowing in these DNC streets, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it. But first, let's start with some salty tears from Jasmine Crockett. So allow me to pivot over to her recent post concerning this matter. Okay, so check this out. As you can see here, right? Let's get into some of these crybaby tears. While today's decision from the Supreme Court is disappointing, it's not shocking coming from a MAGA-influenced court. Here's the bottom line. Texans are now being told to vote under maps that a panel of 3 federal judges right here in Texas said were drawn to weaken the voices of Black, Latino, and minority communities. Those findings still stand. The Supreme Court simply pressed pause, allowing these maps to be used for the 2026 election cycle while the case continues. Let's be clear. The Supreme Court did not say these maps are fair. They did not say these maps are constitutional. They did not undo what the lower court found. All they did was allow maps that the lower court flagged as discriminatory to stay in place for now. And as the crybaby tears come to an end, to every politician celebrating this decision, especially YouTubers like TD, let me offer a word of caution. Don't get too comfortable. These maps were drawn like political Russian roulette, slicing districts, tightening margins, and assuming voters wouldn't fight back. When you push district lines this far, you risk losing the very seats you thought you locked in. And I think she continued on with the crybaby tears here. But I'm not reading all that. Yeah, she kept going. She kept posting and kept crying, but whatever. We're not getting into all that. And one of the reasons that she's highly upset, and it's something that I've talked about before, is that she's been drawn out of her district, right? She's gone from District 30 to now, I believe, is District 33. District 33 is a majority Hispanic district, right? And the interesting thing is that District TX30, which is her old district, is now more black, right? There's actually more black Americans represented in that district. So I find it funny that she would be upset, because in the state of Texas, you don't have to live in your district to run in said district, right? You don't have to do that. So she can live in District 33 and still run in TX 30. She can still do that, which is majority black, which I would think she would love to do because she's so pro-blackity black herself. But when you understand what has also happened with the redrawing of the map, her district, or I should say, her former corporate donors have been drawn out of TX30 as well. So for her, this is all about money, as I've discussed in previous videos, right? She can still run in TX30 and represent black people because she's so pro-blackity black if she wanted to, and could still potentially win because it's still considered a Democrat district. But the reason that she's considering either running in TX33, which is a Hispanic district, or even running for state senate, is because the money isn't there to line up her pockets in TX30 the way that it used to.
What's your understanding of how your district will change if these maps do pass?
Yeah, so my district, what they did is they did a thing that we call, they packed my district up and then they cracked minorities from another community. And so what they did is they've increased the number of African Americans in my district. But while they were cracking out persons from another community and packing them into my community, they also removed all the economic engines, which is yet another red flag. This means that I don't have Southwest Airlines or JSX Airlines or Dallas Love Airport or Downtown or AT&T or Goldman Sachs, and the list goes on of amazing companies and corporations that I'm typically bringing in to make sure that we can talk about economic opportunities for the people that live in my district, including getting rid of the...
Shut up. This woman is such a piece of filth. What a piece of trash. That she's not worried about them leaving the district because it eliminates economic opportunity. They're not losing any economic opportunity. That's not what's happening. You're losing your corporate donors. So you see now at the end of the day, for her, this is all about money. For her specifically, right? It's about money. And also too, they want to make sure that they continue to have DNC lunatics that are actually part of their lunatic club, right? They don't want moderate Democrats stepping in and taking these seats, let alone a Republican somehow coming through and taking these seats, where we have Sheldon Daniels, an America First MAGA Republican that's running for that very seat in TX30. They obviously don't want him to get in as well. They want those who are actually a part of the club, right? So the way things have been shaken up now in TX30 and 33 as well, they run the risk of having folks that are not a part of the club that might get in, and they don't want that to happen. You get what I'm saying? So now what I want to do is this. Let's transition over to MSNBC, now known as MS Now, BS Now, as many might call it, because Simone Sanders, she was crying as well. Obviously, the wailing and gnashing of teeth is always great on MSNBC whenever things like this happen. So let's get into this clip next.
The court is essentially saying, Texas said they drew this for partisan motives. And so we think that's okay. They're using partisan motives as a cover for racial gerrymandering. I believe, and Lisa Rubin can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe even the court in its unsigned majority ruling notes that gives California, right, as an example here, understanding that California has a case that is going before the Supreme Court that will be argued next week about these very things. California says it wasn't for racial reasons, it was partisan reasons in response to Texas. And the justices, the majority, is essentially saying that's okay. My concern is that there is a history of racial discrimination and racial gerrymandering and racial disadvantages when it comes to drawing maps in this country, particularly not exclusively, but particularly in places in the South. If the Supreme Court is now giving a green light to say, well, if you say it's partisan motives and you don't say it's racial, we're going to take that on face value. And it allows racial gerrymandering, the literal disadvantages of people based on their skin color, cutting people up in terms of voting based on their skin color. I think that that's problematic in this country.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's all I heard. All I heard was blah, 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 blah. All I heard was the teacher from Charlie Brown. Womp, 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 womp. That's all I heard, man. Because when you're talking about just the insanity of extreme gerrymandering, it doesn't get more extreme and insane than what we have seen from Democrat-ran states. Let me show you this in closing. How absurd is this? Okay, how absurd is this? What you're looking at right here are, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 states that are Republican, or I should say that are Democrat-ran, that have 0 Republican representation in the House of Representatives. Okay, despite the fact that they have a significant portion of American citizens that vote Republican. It defies logic. In Massachusetts, 36% of the population voted Republican, but they have 0 seats as far as House representation. In Connecticut, 42% of American citizens there voted Republican, 0 seats. In Maine, 46% voted Republican, 0 seats. In New Mexico, 46% voted Republican, 0 seats. In Rhode Island, 42% voted Republican, 0 seats. In Vermont, 32% voted Republican, 0 seats. In Hawaii, 38% voted Republican, 0 seats. And in Delaware, 42% voted Republican, 0 seats. Spare me the crybaby tears. I'm not interested in hearing anything that you have to say. Nobody cheats like DNC lunatics cheat. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And please do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is linked in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.